Hey guys, Frank here, your virtual general aviation aviator, and today I am back in one of my favorite aircraft, if not my most favorite aircraft, the PC-12. I'm also going to ask you guys to bear with me. I'm a little bit under the weather with a cold, but I don't want too much time to elapse between my recordings. So here I go. So today the plan is to do an FSE economy flight, and let's see. Now what happened to my sorry about that, guys. Today I am going to do an FSE economy flight. So what I want to do is see if I can't show you guys what my plan is. Incidentally, I've acquired a couple new aircraft since I've last made any videos. I've got the Phenom 300 corporate jet, and I got the SR-22 Integra. Uh, uh, yeah, Integra Cirrus SR-22 with the Integra avionics suite. And I think I'm going to enjoy that avionics suite because, it's different from the Garmin. That's what I'm looking for. It's different from the Garmin G1000. All right, so let's see if we can't get focused here. Um, all right, so if everything is going right, you guys should be able to see what's on my screen. And I am at Borox, Barron, California. And this is a waypoint that I had to manually load in the GTN 750, but it is in the X-Plane default G530. So that was helpful. So I am going to fly these two passengers to this 82 nautical miles to John Wayne in Santa Ana, California. Okay, so let's go ahead and add those guys, and let's go ahead and reserve the aircraft. Okay, and I'm gonna run it dry. And let's see if I'm all ready for my flight. Okay, so I got these two assignments loaded up, and I do have an aircraft with 86 gallons of Jet A. Now I can't buy Jet A here, um, so if the 86 gallons won't get me to Santa Ana, then I'm going to have to do something different. So let me figure that out. Okay, so what I think I could do is, well, I am here at Barron. Let's see if I can make this map any bigger. I don't think so. Okay, so I'm here at Boron, which is a private strip just northeast of Edwards. And if I fly to Palmdale to take on some fuel, let's see, I'm actually gonna move this, or I could go to, I could go, let's see, let's move this here. This is where I'm actually at. 57 CL. That's probably what I would have found it in if without having to add that waypoint. But anyway, Let's see. So let's change this to 57 CL since we know what it is now. And I could go to not Bakersfield, but this little airstrip I used to fly to on Pilot Edge, Mojave. I could go to Mojave to get some fuel. And let's see, so I got some choices here. I could go to Mojave, take on some fuel, and then get around Palmdale, or I could go straight to Palmdale, and I really couldn't go straight to Palmdale. Looked like I probably want to avoid this Air Force base a little bit more. Gee whiz, what's going on here? So let's just get rid of Mojave, and that should have, let's see, let's just refresh this guy here. Okay, so I could just go straight to Palmdale. Well, not straight again. Let's see if, well, actually what might make more sense to avoid airspace is to go to Victorville. Military installation, but I think they do some GA traffic, and they got one of the longest, oh, it did get bigger, one of the longest runways you ever want to see. I think this runway is about three or four, maybe up to 5 miles long. So it's a pretty long one. So I could go here, which I'm starting to like a little bit better. That only is going to add, minus the stop, it's going to add 9 minutes to my flight. I think I was at 41 direct. And I might even be able to pick up some passengers for Santa Ana. Of course, I don't see any passengers for Palmdale that want to go to Santa Ana. But let's check Victorville. Kilo Victor Lima Victor. Is that right? I don't think so. Victorville. Kilo Victor. Shucks. Just that quick. Victor Charlie Victor. Kilo Victor Charlie Victor. And I can pick up 3 more passengers for Santa Ana. So that's a done deal. So let's go ahead and get them reserved so that some other FSE economy pilot doesn't pick them up. And now I've got 5 people I can fly into Santa Ana, which might make this flight a little bit more profitable. Well, I'm sure to make it a little bit more profitable. Okay, so that's pretty much what I'm gonna do with the groundwork. And let's get this guy started here. It has done a flight today, so and Victorville is, I know I got enough Jet A to get to Victorville, so I'm not even worried about that. Let's just do a quick pre-flight, even though it's been flown already. Just quick little walk around, make sure everything at least visually look okay. And let's um, say that this is really a thorough um, pre-flight. Um, so even though we're not technically doing everything that we would do um, if I was doing it in real life. Okay, so let's hop in, and we're in through the miracle of video. All right. So this is the STMA version of the PC-12. It may not be as nice as the Coronado brand visually, and the sounds does not stack up to the Coronado PC-12, but the systems more than make up for it, in my opinion. Um, there's a guy who has a channel. His name is Gene, and he's a PC-12 pilot, and he will tell you he's a real world PC-12 pilot, and he will tell you that the Coronado PC-12 is not nearly what you would want to do a real world looking flight with the PC-12, but um, I wish I could mishmash the STMA version and the Coronado version together and come up with a really nice aircraft, but I can't. And STMA still promises to develop the PC-12 NGX or the 47E, the NG, which will have the Honeywell Primus Apex avionics suite, which is why we haven't seen the PC-12 yet. The at least not the NGX version, because that avionics suite is a heavy lift. But I digress. Let's keep going here. So um, first thing I'm gonna do is go ahead and load my passengers because I tend to forget that sometime. So let's get those two on board and let's get started here. All right, so I'm gonna walk you through this without going through the checklist because I spent enough time on the ground. All right, so battery one comes on. I got 24 volts, and battery two can come on. I really need a little bit more voltage to technically start this thing, but at this airport, uh, I'm not going to get a GPU, so let's just keep going with it. All right, so let's go ahead and make sure our brakes are set. Condition level is set. PCL is set, and and we're not going to stall because we don't want to lose any more on the battery. Okay, so we're going to hold down the starter button for 2 seconds, and then we're going to watch our NGs come up. And when they get up to 12.5%, then I'm going to introduce fuel to the turbine engine, and that should light off the turbine. Okay, so you see the interstage turbine temperature coming up, and it peaks and it should come right down. If it doesn't come down, I'm going to need to shut down immediately, or else run a $500,000 engine. All right, so it's down. So it looks like, guys, I've got a good start. Um, and there was something else that I should have been watching out for. I think it was. Um, Actually, I don't recall. But anyway, let's go ahead and get our generators on. Generator 1, generator 2. Um, Inverter is set. Standby bus is off. Avionics 1 and Avionics 2 is on. Beacon is on. Let's go ahead and turn our nav on. And I had my switch for my nav turned on, so I actually thought it was on before I started. And let's go ahead and turn our taxi light on and our inertial separator. Let's get that on. Okay, start up our Garmin 750 and check this caution light. Okay. Um, so I am going to fly visually to Palmdale since it's such a short flight and it's not cloudy. So let's go ahead and squawk 1200 VF Aura altitude reporting. And okay, so it knows I'm on the ground and it will switch to altitude reporting automatically. All right, let's go ahead and test our autopilot. And it tested out fine. I actually don't hear any engine sounds. And I've been having some trouble with the sounds on this machine as of yesterday. So, guys, wait right there. I am going to reboot, and what I need to remember is that when I reboot, I want to start with I'm going to start with the inertial separator. Oh no, no, I'm going to start with with the gee whiz, this thing escapes me. I am going to start with the transponder. Okay, bear with me because I do have a cold, so I think that's affecting some of my thinking. All right, all right, so just bear with me. And so I'm back, and I think I have a little bit of sound now. Maybe it wasn't the computer at all. I think I'm just so used to F mod sounds, and the STMA lacks F mod, so I do get a an engine sound, but it's it can leave something to be desired. But again, the flight systems kind of make up for a lot of the shortcomings. Um, so let's just keep going here. Let's go over here and make sure that we get our transponder turned on here. And I think that's why when I was trying to squawk altitude, it kept going back to standby. All right, so that's ground, and or maybe, yeah, I think it just knows I'm on the ground. Okay, well, now that's saying altitude, but this is giving me a ground. So I'm squawking altitude, but it knows I'm on the ground. So hey, it's smarter than I am, maybe. All right. So we do have a caution. Our environmental control systems needs to come on, and we've got to do a pusher test. But before we do our pusher test, we're just gonna keep going. As much as have flown this, aircraft, I have not flown it enough to develop a flow, which is something that I really need. In fact, what I really should do is just print out the a checklist and kind of follow it. Okay, so one of the cool things that I've learned about this aircraft is when something is blinking up here is trying to get my attention, and the NG is at 59.8, and it needs to be at least 60 to not blink to stop getting my attention. So I'm going to take the condition lever, not the um, yeah, the condition lever, and just add a little bit power until I get to 60, and now it's happy. Okay, so I still got my pusher test to go according to the crew alert system of the cows, and let's see. All right, so I do want to make sure I got all my systems turned on, and let's get that guy turned on. Turn on weather. Let's we're gonna fly via using the GPS, so let's set this guy up for GPS. And I know this is hard to read, but it is what it is. But this says GPS. I'm just gonna cycle through them for you. That's GPS 2, and that's AO AOL, not AOL, AOI. Um, I had looked up what that stands for, but for some reason I can't. Angle of a no, can't recall. Um, so I'm not a real world pilot, but that's I'm actually on system one, and that's nav one and back to GPS. Okay, and if I wanted nav two, then I think I could come down here and click two and get nav two, or even GPS two. I think. Well, I don't think GPS two. Yeah, there's GPS two. I was just about to say I don't think GPS two is modeled, but it is. I've never flown this particular aircraft and tried to use the GPS two. Um, I have learned that if I want to switch between GPS one and two, then this is the button to do so. Um, and so for this video, I am going to stick with GPS one. Incidentally, I had mentioned Gene. I am going to put a link to his channel um, in the description. So if you want to see the notes when I get wheels up, when I land, without having to watch the preamble, the ground stuff, then if you just click the show more below, then you'll see time codes, or you can scroll along the bottom and it will um, show you takeoff and landing. Okay, when I say the bottom, there's a bar just up under the video that has some time marks on it. Okay, so where are we? We are still getting situated here for this flight. Now, as I mentioned before, in real life, it can take a pilot sitting in the, he or she would spend some time probably at home or at some place away from the airport the night before, familiarizing with the flight. And once he get to the airport, he or she could spend another 2 to 3 hours planning and checking weather, making sure that he's familiar with all relevant information before he even start the pre-flight. And then, as you know, the pre-flight process can take another 45. Well, I actually don't know what it takes to pre-flight in real time. The PC-12, Gene. is a good resource to ask these types of questions. This real world pilot is lives and breathes the PC-12. So if you got any questions that you want to ask the real life um, pilot about the PC-12, check out his channel. Okay, let's see. So where am I? Okay, so I still got the pusher test to go, and which I will get to. Okay, so let's go up here. My inertial separator is on. Probes are on. We can go ahead and turn on the fasten seatbelt sign or the passenger advisory. And our runway is straight out. So when I spun back in, the aircraft spun in a different orientation. Um, okay, so let's go ahead and do our pusher test. So the the developers, the STMA developer did do some work to try to mimic or simulate a real life pusher test properly to the best of his ability, which I think is so cool. Um, so let's go ahead and do our lamp test, and all my lamps are working, as you can see. Okay, and a fire test, and I do get my fire warning, engine fire, and fire detection indicators. Okay, and let's do this pusher test. Okay, so I need to add takeoff flaps 15 degrees. And I've learned from Gene that in real life it usually take about 22 seconds for the flaps to come down on the PC-12 to this 15-degree mark. Um, Thereafter, it can go a lot faster. Okay, so I need to have my torque at or above 5%. Okay, so I'm look like I'm going to level off at about 5.5, 5.4, somewhere there about, but I should stay above 5 at this point. Okay, so I'm going to press and hold this guy and pull up on my yoke. I'm going to check the pitches, and my yoke should shake. There we go. And on that last one, the yoke just kind of pulled me forward. Um, so it's if it detects a stall, then it's going to try to help you get out of that stall. Okay, so that's it for my pusher test. No more cast messages, and let's get some weather here. So the best way to get weather is to get it from the closest field, which is going to be 9 Lima 2, or Edwards Air Force Base North. Um, and so I'm actually looking up the AWAS for 9 Lima 2. And let's see. And I'm on Sky Vector. And lo and behold, there are no radio frequencies that I'm seeing for, yeah, there it is. So they got a military ATOS at, well, that's for Edwards, and L71, which is 12.2 nautical miles to the northwest, is what we'll use, 120.875. Okay. I like to dial that in on my secondary radio. 875 is what I'm looking for. And if any of you guys new to X-Plane, I know dialing stuff in with the mouse scroll can feel like a chore, but stick with it. You'll get used to it, or at least I did. Okay. Excuse me. So that's on COM 2. Sorry about the
Terrace Sky Park weather.
Screen blacking out.
Wind 100 at 6, visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 33,000 few, temperature 27, dew point -10. Altimeter 3003.
Okay. And we've got our weather for the closest airport that we could get it from. And what we've learned is our altimeter, the closest altimeter that we can use is 3003. And let's put it on our backup here. And a lot of times I don't use this backup because it's just so hard to read. And I know you can't see it because I can hardly see it, and I'm sitting right up on it. 6543. So 2400 and 2400, the actual field elevation is 2399, so that's consistent. So that's cross-check. Okay. And we are going to be flying. Apologies, guys, on the screen blanking out, but every time I'm using a dual monitor. When I switch monitors, for some reason it's blanking out today. And I'm not going to troubleshoot that, at least not today. So if you are seeing the blanks, then just know that it's going to last only a second. All right, so I'm actually looking for Sky Vector. I wanted to pull that back over. And again, looks like we're gonna be heading out roughly at about 14.4 on the compass rose. It's only 27 nautical miles away, and I don't want to sit here too long with my engine running since I'm so low on gas. Jet A, that is. Okay, but looks like we're going easterly, and easterly is odd, and since we're at VFR, then we're going to do something 500. Terrain is roughly 3,000 feet, so we're going to do 55. 5,000 is odd and 500 for VFR, so we'll do 55. So let's load that in. And sometimes these scroll wheels, these click spots can be tough to find. And we'll do a a 1200 feet per minute ascent. We don't need to climb like a jet. Okay. And we don't need a flight director just yet. Okay. So if I was smart, I would check a checklist because invariably I'm always forgetting something. Our trims look good. Flap set to takeoff. Taxi lights can come on. And we are ready to go. And our runway, let's see what our runways are. So we're at 24, and that would be 6 on the opposite side, right? Um, Winds were 100 at 6. So 6 is going to be our best runway, and I don't think there's a taxiway to 6. Bear with me. Okay, so I don't think there's a taxiway to 6. So we are going to back taxi. Baron traffic, Pilatus 9875 Foxtrot, back taxiing into runway 6, Baron. Boron. Okay. Brakes can come off. Now, I've had this happen before. Sometimes the brakes will get stuck for some reason, and chocks are still on. Duh. Okay. And yeah. Oh yeah. Let's put the brakes back on, and let's put in our flight plan. Well, let's see. I want and we're going to Victorville. Okay, which is the same as Southern California. 30.4 nautical miles away from us. Okay, and then we're going to Santa Ana. These keyboards are a lot more convenient than scrolling that mouse button. Okay. All right. And we will probably have to do a procedure, some sort of procedure in the Santa Ana, but we won't worry about that now. Okay. So I did reboot. Well, I actually didn't reboot, but I restarted the sim. So, and I'm glad I thought about that because that means that I'm probably not logged in, and I have seen the sim crash a couple of times logging in to X Economy, so I hope that doesn't happen. Okay, locked in, and we'll get those guys loaded back up. And it says your flight has not been started because let's see. Well, let's see. It says let's see what it says. It's not been started. There's no record rented aircraft at the closest at this airport. Okay, so let's see what's going on here. All right. So let's get this guy back my flight. So I do have a rented aircraft. I am at 28 CL, and don't tell me I'm at the wrong airport. Let's see, 28 CL. Okay, so I'm at the right airport, and so why isn't it loading up my passengers? One more thing to check. This flight is being flown. So that means that I logged in the first time and I had my passengers on board, but then I stopped the flight and restarted the sim, and the program still think I'm flying that original flight, so I need to fix that. Okay, so that's easy. Cancel, and now I should be able to start this flight, and we're good to go. Okay, so hopefully, if any of you guys use FS Economy and are new to it, you just learned something. All right, and what's next? Okay, so taxi lights are on, flaps and trims are set, PC condition is at idle, and brakes can come off. Just double checking that taxi light. And I already made the radio call to let any traffic know that I'm back taxiing. Of course, in real life, um, I would make it again because of the time. But the nice thing about a sim is you can take some liberties. Now I'm not in beta and I'm not on my brakes. Um, let's see what my ground speed is. So I'm at 26 knots. So, but I actually did have a lot more torque in than I should have had in. I just recently learned from Gene, he's my go-to right now, that that I had been overusing my reverse thrust way too much. Um, Probably had been kicking up all kinds of fodder and debris into the engine on my landings. Okay, let's see if we can't make a turn around here. And I think that's worth taking a look at. just curious as to how that looks. And if any of you guys are watching any of my videos, you know that I'm not one to do a lot of outside views. I'm hoping to get better with that. Oh, that is so cool, isn't it? That's called a differential turn. Okay. But really and truthfully, anybody who's watching this video would know that. Okay. All right, so we're lined up. Baran traffic, Pilatus 9875, Foxtrot taking off runway 6, straight out, Baran. Condition level 4, strobe lights should have been on, landing light should have been on, and takeoff power set. Do have a little crosswind here. Airspeed's coming alive. Airspeed's alive. Rotate. Positive rate. Tap the brake. Gear up. I got a lot of back pressure on the yoke, so I'm gonna trim it. Hold my runway heading till I get in front of the aircraft. Set my heading bug. Yaw damper should come on. Autopilot is now on. And GPS. So let's go to nav. And I should be acquiring my magenta line. Of course, in real life, I would have spent more time looking for traffic too, especially out in the desert where people might be flying a little bit of everything. I would imagine that there's probably a lot of experimental stuff out here. Flaps up. .36.9 is my climb power. .200 indicated. 136 over the ground. I'm sorry. 233 over the ground. Okay, so I should be acquiring my general line, gasoline check, fuel check, oil check. Let's re-engage this guy, and I see I have been, I got bit by something that I've been bit by before. Click spot. Okay, so what I got bit by was this for me to ascend the aircraft. This arrow has to be pointed up, and when I'm descending, it points down. I've got accustomed when I was flying the Coronado. They use plus and minus, so I got so accustomed to the plus and minus that sometimes I just, well, for whatever reason, when I set the 1200, I don't know how I managed to set a descent of 1200. Good thing I didn't set 1800. Okay, so less than 1,000 to go. And 1,200 vertical speed. I mean, yeah, 1,200 feet per minute is my vertical speed ascent. Uh, I'm on now autopilot yaw damper zone altitude, and I don't know if terrain. Let's see, well, there was terrain at 30 at about 3,600. So I make sure that my terrain inhibitor is not off. So let's go ahead and turn the test on. Make sure that both lights work. And terrain inhibitor is off. So I think what that means is that when it's off, when the button says off, that it's actually in the off state. And 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 terrain inhibitor is on. I don't want the terrain inhibited, so I think this needs to be in the off state. Okay. This needs to be on GPS. Now I see I'm 13 nautical miles out. I got 258.7 knots over the ground, and I'm 2 minutes out at this speed. That should agree with my GPS. Well, it says 4 minutes. So what is this time mark? I'm not sure what the time mark reference is. And the aircraft is a little bit too noisy, so I got a plug-in that I discovered that I can turn down. That's XP realistic. I'll turn that down just a touch. So, given that the airport is 28 nautical miles out, I'm trying to determine whether Victorville is going to be on this side of this ridge or the other side. I think it's going to be on this side, because that ridge ought to be 60. I'm just taking a wild guess. Um, I think it might be about 60 miles or so. I guess I can look here, and that's one thing about this. Well, yeah, so those ridges are way out there. So yeah, so I need to start a descent. Actually, I need to. I'm behind the aircraft. See how quickly you can get behind the aircraft, because I'm already at Victorville. Haven't looked up any frequencies or anything. Use the use the thing, the GPS to do that. Okay, ATIS is 135.37, and I might overfly Victorville. With a 22 nautical mile flight in a PC-12, I should have started tuning my radio as soon as I got airborne. .47. Let's come to
Southern California Logistics Information India. 2300 Zulu weather. Wind shear alert. Wind 270 at 15 gust 26. Visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 34,500 view. Temperature 26. Dew point 15. Altimeter 3011. Arriving runway 35. Departing runway 35. Advise on initial contact, you have India.
Okay. I know I'm gonna land on 3.5, but I didn't hear my winds. I need to learn how to multitask, how to listen and
Southern California Logistics Information India. 2300 Zulu weather. Wind shear alert. Wind 270 at 15 gust 26. Visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 34,500 view. Temperature 26. Dew point 15. Altimeter 3011. Arriving runway 35. Departing runway 35. Advise on initial contact, you have India.
okay, I got India. And looks like Victorville is, let's see, well, I'm actually on my way to Santa Ana. I forgot I did put 2 flight plans in, did combine the flight plan. So let's go back here and let's go back to flight plan and let's go back here and let's do direct to back direct to and I'm starting my turn 10 nautical miles away from Victorville. And looks like based on the map, looks like I'm gonna curve right into it. Victorville traffic, Pilatus 9875 Foxtrot is inbound from the north southwest, and we're looking for a 4-stop Victorville. I don't know how far I'm out. I should have told them that. So at least they know to put their head on a swivel to look for me. All right, so now I'm looking for that field for that airport, right? Let's see. So this is how it feels to be behind the aircraft from 10 nautical miles out. Now I'm headed back to Santa Ana, direct to. I'll tell you what, let me remove cancel. Actually, I just fly some 360s here and get my bearing. I tell you, you can see why pilots have to train so long and hard to do what they need to do to stay safe. Okay. So I'm 6 miles out. I'm 160 knots indicated. And I want to come in on 3.5. So that's going to give me roughly a straight in. Okay. Victorville traffic, Pilatus 9875 Foxtrot is inbound from the north, from the south, runway 35 full stop, and I am 11 miles out, Victorville. So that was disgraceful, that call, but at least I gave them all the information that they needed. And I'm flying slow so I can get ahead of the aircraft. All right. And what I want to do is see my run. There it is. Okay. Okay, runway in sight, and still pretty high, so let's just hand fly it. Wind is 15 knots, gusting to 22.6, and I am going to have a quarter, and that's quartering. So it may wind up being a pretty squirrely landing. Did I lose the airport? I think I did. All right, so let's turn base here. Oh, no. I think I had it lined up for 3.5. No, that's not 3.5. I do need to go base a little bit. And 4 miles out. Victorville traffic, Pilatus 9875 Foxtrot is 4 miles to the north inbound runway, entering left base, runway 35, full stop, Victorville. One thing that I always say about these sims is I can't really turn my head now. I am lining up. This is not 3.5 either. Victorville traffic. Pilatus 9875 Foxtrot is turning downwind for runway 35 Victorville. Okay, so this. Now, this is one of the things that you would avoid by spending some time looking at the charts, looking at the runway, the airport charts, so that when you get to the airport, it's not all totally unfamiliar with you. Because, quite frankly, I hadn't looked well enough to know where my runways were going to be. And I still may not have 3.5. Okay, landing lights come on. And at least in real life, I can turn my head and see that runway. So I'm 100 knots. And I'm way too high. But that's 112. It's not my runway anyway. One two plus 18 is 3.4. Now, since I was unfamiliar with the airport and I am doing traffic calls, it might would have made some more sense. No, that's 3. And there's 3.5. It might would have made more sense to what am I trying to say? Hold that thought, because it got away from me. So, but I'm pretty much task saturated, because I'm trying to keep an idea where I'm at in relationship to the runway that I want. I think one of the things that may be causing me to, I should have left them on down. I think one of the things that may have been causing me to not keep up with with where the runways are is the winds, because I keep looking at my compass and trying to compare that to the orientation of the runways, and I'm probably was getting get that gear back down. I probably was getting I probably was crapping. So when I looked and I wasn't lining up for 3.5, well, I'm lining up now. Victorville traffic, Pilatus 9875 Foxtrot on short funnel, runway 35. And I'm dropping a bunch of flaps because I am high, and this approach is unstable. And unstable approaches do make for some rotten landings. Track that middle line. We're down. Okay, beta. But I don't need reverse. Act like it come out of beta a little bit. Not on the brakes. And well, I guess I was on the brakes, didn't realize it. Okay, I'm trying to keep, let's see, the winds are 270, and I want to keep my ailerons into the wind. Start cleaning up here. Victorville traffic, Pilatus 9875 Foxtrot is clear to runway, Victorville. Okay, so we need gas. And I tell you guys, the winds are atrocious. Well, take my eyes off the runway even for a minute. And I don't know if you guys can see how I got my ailerons bent, hopefully into the wind. Um, Unless I'm in the cockpit, can't really tell. Yeah, and then I'm getting a quartering wind from the tail now. Victorville traffic, Pilatus 9875 Foxtrot's crossing runway 21, Victorville. And that extra noise you hear is the beta. And I am going to pull up here and call for a field truck. All right, brakes. Out of beta. And you know, I didn't turn my inertial separators off. It was such a short flight that I'm going to give myself a break. I wouldn't want to fly for hours with it open in clear weather. It's just not an efficient use of thrust. Okay. And I never did. It's a bunch of mistakes that I made, but I am not following the checklist. Uh, all right, let's get fueled up. Drop these passengers off. Get reloaded with passengers. Actually, I didn't have any to drop off, did I? But that's okay. I got all 5 of them now. All right, get some fuel. Mm, that's not the way you get fuel in FS economy. That is not the way you do it. Okay. So this is the way you do it. Let's see. Bear with me. All right. So if I refresh this page, it should know I'm at Victorville. Okay. So I'm at Victorville. And let's see if it'll let me. Well, I can't. I got to cancel the flight. I already started the flight and I got to add the fuel before I start the flight. So I kind of got a little bit ahead of myself. Um, Cancel the flight. Okay, now I should be able to get fuel. Let's see, let's pull the browser page back up. Refresh it. So the flight should not be being flown. Oh, really sure? Okay, now it's canceled. Okay. I had a plug-in that did a lot of this automatically, but it started causing crashes to desktop for the sim. So I removed it, and now I'm having to do some of the stuff manually. I'm looking for the browser page and refresh this. Okay, now I should be able to get fuel, refuel. I get it from Millionaire. Cool name. And I am going to leave some fuel in for the next um, pilot, the next person who flies this aircraft. So I am going to fill it to 380 gallons. And that ought to be enough to keep me in my envelope and to fly that 60 nautical miles and still have roughly a full tank of gas. All right. And let's go here. Let's see now, where are we? So we can get rid of this guy. And now we can start the flight. Okay. And start the aircraft. Look like I'm gonna have to do a pusher test again. I didn't think it was gonna force me to do a second one. Okay, ITT needs to come back down. And she's dropping. I got a good start. Fuel is 4. Generator 1, generator 2, inverter, avionics 1, avionics 2, inertia separator, probes, landing light, taxi lights. And beacon was on, good. Passenger advisory can go on. And let's see if we can get this guy on over to Santa Ana. And I think I'm just going to do a fly in. Um, I think I might just do a, well, I think I'm going to stop for right now. Apologies, but I have this cold and and I'm just not feeling like flying another leg, even though the leg was pretty short. So I wonder if I can save this flight at this state. Save flight and Pilatus PC-12. And I'm gonna say at KVCV to KSNA. Check load at startup, even though I don't think that'll happen. And so again, I guess there will be a part two. I spend so much time on the ground that I don't spend a lot, doesn't feel like I spent a lot of time in the air. But it was hard. I found it difficult today to stay in front of the aircraft. I kept falling behind, um, and I am going to call it. So I hope you guys enjoyed what I've done so far. And maybe when we finish this flight, things will go a little bit smoother. But I got a feeling that if I finish it right now, things are just going to continue to go downhill. All right, guys, y'all come back now. You hear?